There's a kind of a lack of talent, especially within the creative computing area. You don't need to know software or coding languages inside out to make things, and there's a big misunderstanding that you do.
You're watching Local Insiders Digital Jobs. We spoke with digital industry professionals in Camden, Hackney, Islington and Tower Hamlets to understand their different pathways to finding digital jobs. Amos Mukombero in conversation with Jazmin Morris, presented by Lyft and Good Growth Hub. What's good, guys? You're here with Amos Mukombero. I'm joined by the incredible Jazmin. Jazmin, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, my name's Jazmin Morris. I'm a creative computing artist and educator. We're going to unwrap that a little bit. Based in London, Royal Docks.
Okay, cool. Whereabouts do you work as well?
I freelance, so I work around London sometimes. University-wise, based at CSM, which is in King's Cross, and Creative Computing Institute, which is in Camberwell. It's complicated and it's long, but full-time education, higher education lecturing, but in creative computing, graphic design, creative technology. And then on the side, I freelance. I talk a lot at tech conferences on equality and the importance of education. The main thing that I do is, first of all, unpack the term and help people understand that creative computing is more than coding. You can actually avoid code to a certain extent. So it's anything from games design, thinking about all of your assets for that, environments, mechanics. It can be robotics, it can be electronics, physical computing, web design, virtual reality, augmented reality, interface design, web design. There's like tons of things that come under that label.
I'm super curious to know 3 essential skills to get into the world of tech.
Computational thinking, general understanding of software and interface with a focus on being able to adapt the logic that you're learning and really understand what you do. I'm always pro like copying and pasting code, really pro open source, but at the same time understand what you're doing, otherwise you'll get lost. Have personality, have culture if that's what you want to do. Express yourself however you want to express. The tech industry, especially like in industry, when it gets less creative, it becomes a typical office environment, and I think it's nice to have some personality there, you know.
What recent projects have you worked on, and what's been your most enjoyable and your favourite project?
I did a residency. It's collaboration with Hyphen Labs and Interaction Studio and arts institution in Germany called Deutsche Hallen. We were working with artists that use technology, and it was amazing. I met 2 other really cool artists. I was looking at controllers, interactivity through hardware, and how that casing can actually again extend our identity. It was basically a push against like the grey squares that are our phones and our MacBooks, and kind of trying to bring that element of customization back. I collaborated with DXR Studio, a really cool contemporary web design studio. We built a website for women that are like herbalists, and they did this digital garden, and it was all very cool. It felt like a real collaboration between like community work, nature, the sorts of communities that don't really collaborate with tech, and then me and DXR came in with very contemporary like tech experience, and we just collaborated in a really gorgeous way. There was a lot of women working on the project. It felt really genuine, and it's really nice to bring those skills into like grassroots projects because they don't often meet.
Can you tell me about any interesting hobbies you might have and how they've benefited you in your work?
Definitely, and I think this one can really help people that identify more with like things that society have constructed as being feminine, because I feel like, you know, you have your Lego, you have your Hot Wheels, and all of the kind of logic-based mathematical things are still marketed more toward boys and men, and the industry's changing, but then you can have parents as well with traditional views that are not necessarily going to influence like young women to do things. So first of all, there's logic in some of the more feminine things that we don't realise. Recently did a project that was about hair braiding and computational thinking and the similarities between that. There's a lot of like mathematics and geometry and logic in cane row patterns, box braids. Obviously, don't be afraid to exist outside of the binary. If you like Lego, if you like whatever it is, those hobbies can actually really help you understand how things work, familiarise yourself with, again, like computational thinking. I know I keep on saying that. So yeah, to summarise, gaming, Lego, Fashion, I think, and hair can actually be quite logical. I just don't think that it's advertised in that way.
What does your support network look like, and how has it helped you in your career?
There are two, right? Because there's career and then there's the personal, and they cross over sometimes, but my family friends one, although it's unconventional because it's not the traditional my mum and dad are great and have always believed in my vision and come to everything. It's not that, but I've got a very supportive big sister, very supportive friends, chosen family. I think they really helped me with my anxiety and that side of things. Career-wise, I have had role models, whether it's been a course leader or a dean in the academic space. Anne-Marie Imafidon, really famous mathematician, she was my boss for a while.
Wow.
She really helped me understand that as a black woman, you can be intelligent, you can be confident, you can run things. She did Countdown, What's the Face's cover recently, Carol Vorderman is it?
So,
and
yeah.
She came as herself, with her weave, whatever it is, a proud Nigerian self, and if she's from East London, she's got a personality. So yeah, I think role models are really important, and then you can end up working for them and being friends with them, and it can really surprise you.
So we're in Camden right now. What association have you got with Camden?
Camden for me, obviously where I work, King's Cross is close, so I feel the borough and this area of North London, I suppose, I'm quite familiar with. When I moved here from Yorkshire, obviously my Yorkshire accent, I came here as a tourist a lot when I was studying. I studied fine art at Chelsea, and yeah, I hadn't been to London much. So first year was, of course, trying to do uni, but also exploring London, and I came to Camden a lot. I love the shops here, and I like the vibe. I've been on the lock, as a 19-year-old in that Wetherspoons. I've got really nice memories, actually. It's nice to be back.
Jazmin, thank you so much for all of the things that you've mentioned so far. Super helpful. Should we maybe go check out the canal or something like that?
I would love to.
I really love water. I don't know if you're the same.
Absolutely.
How did you get into your career? What was your pathway into it? Did you do a short course? Did you do an apprenticeship, a boot camp, or did you go to uni?
Studied fine art, and I'm a little bit of an artist, but obviously, as we know, my career is more creative computing, if anything, right? No formal courses, completely self-taught, learning through creativity, actually. So instead of being oh, I'm going to do a short course on VR, or I'm going to go to a virtual reality development, whatever it may be, boot camp, I was just well, I'll make a VR world and I'll maybe collaborate with some artists and some people that know the way around VR, sit and watch on the tutorials, get things wrong, break things. And again, this focus on never really fully learning a piece of software. I'm happy to get what I need out of it and leave it there. I honestly would really like to get that across, that you don't need to know software or coding languages inside out.
Have you faced any challenges in your career, and if so, how have you overcome those?
Everyone says it, right, but I did and do have imposter syndrome. I've tried to work through the identity side of imposter syndrome, like class, race, gender identity. Because I came in through creativity and I'm self-taught, there's a lot of insecurity around knowing software, right, and not having formal training and not having done a formal course, or even my degree isn't in computer science, it's in fine art. And I think that's why I've really honed in on actually using that as a tool for empowerment and actually diversifying what people think you need to know to get in.
Have you got something about your career, a surprising element or a misconception about your career, or something that maybe people don't know about?
This notion of using other people's work with consent, right? Learning from others, building from other projects, and forking code and copying and pasting and editing, just that whole kind of process is a lot more common and okay than it seems. And again, this is why I'm you don't have to know everything from scratch. Borrowing, copying and pasting, whatever metaphor I can use, is a lot more common and okay than is perceived.
If someone wanted to get into your field of work, firstly, why should they get into your field of work? And what would you tell them, essentially?
I think there's a kind of a lack of talent in some ways, especially within the creative computing area, to understand tech and to also understand creative approaches, again theory, history, culture, empathy, ethics. Having a combination of all of those skills is actually quite sought after in the creative computing scene and the tech area as well. Sometimes if you've come from a creative background, you can stand out actually, and it can be an advantage.
What is the role of your local community in impacting, facilitating and informing your career path?
My local community at home in Yorkshire and where I grew up inspires me every day because I understand alternative ways of living, I understand poverty, I understand culture mixes and clashes. These things inspire me to be a role model for my community, to carve my own path. And then communities in London, I work with them and they've been really substantial to forming my career. I also run a creative computing club, and its main aim is to teach creative computing skills to those that would not usually have access. I've worked with so many different communities in London. So it's called Tech Yard, and the Creative Computing Institute fund it. So often it'll be a closed collaboration. So I might work with a school, or as I've said, a gallery that has a pool of young people, colleges.
What does the future in tech look like, and how can your younger self, how can you best navigate that?
Do you know what? The future of tech looks human. That is what I would say, because if we can focus less on the nitty-gritty of coding line by line, or of building from scratch, building environments from scratch, the more content that's out there, the more that can be forked, the more infrastructure that we have, or the more we can use assistive artificial intelligence to help us with that, the more human we maybe will be able to start focusing on identity, on nuance, on emotions, not in the Elon Musk area, but just on kind of bringing that humanity into development. So actually, yeah, I hope it's going to look human.
This video has been presented by Lift and Good Growth Hub, supported by Mayor of London, in partnership with Camden, Hackney, Islington and Tower Hamlets Borough Councils. Creative direction and visuals by Walk with Amos and Usman Dare. Lift supports people from underrepresented backgrounds living in Camden, Hackney, Islington and Tower Hamlets to find jobs and training in the tech, creative and science sectors. For more information, visit www.liftfutures.london.